earlier this week into what you're going to see today. So I am truly, truly grateful to Eleanor. I hope that you've all had a chance to have a look at the speaker proposal information. I will be referring to it as we go through, but you'll be able to then read it in depth afterwards if you haven't already done so. Okay, so let's get going. I have some aims, which I hope reflect my abstract. Right, the first aim is to just briefly review the different formats for sessions. The main aim is to review the criteria for selection. And the outcome, hopefully, will be that your conference proposal, if you're going to put one in, will be accepted for Harrogate 2014. Okay, before I look at the criteria, the formats and then the criteria, there is one thing which is out of your control, and that is the balance of the conference programme. By this I mean that over the 4 days, there has to be a balance of sessions, and these criteria, this list is in your speaker proposal guidelines. And here you can see the balance, and I'm just trying to find my pointer, which I can't find. Okay, can you see it? I can't see the pointer, but never mind. Okay, I have here for the balance, so we're looking for first time and experienced presenters, a variety of regions, associations, contexts, alternative systems of education with areas of research. But you will notice that I've highlighted one in green and bolded it because there has to be, over the 4 days, a variety of ELT topics. So this is important because what could happen, and it does happen actually, is that if we have too many proposals on one topic, for example, teaching writing skills or the use of ICT in the classroom, they may well have to be combined by me into forums where 3 speakers speak on the same topic, or in some symposiums where 5 speakers speak on the same topic. And that is something that we don't know until all the presentations have been come into the office. So let's go and have a look at the session formats. You need to choose the most appropriate format for what you want to do in the session from this list. The most popular choice is the talk. We have lots and lots of proposals for talks, 30 minutes, and the reason I think they're popular and in fact very successful is if the focus of the talk is suitably narrow, this is long enough for participants to engage with the subject matter. Now, I think it's important to remember, based on feedback that we do have every year, is that a talk is not 30 minutes of the presenter talking at the audience, but that it should contain an opportunity for audience participation. For example, possibly via some discussion questions, group discussion, and also opportunity for questions at the end, or hopefully a combination of both. It's also very important to use visual aids in this to guide the audience through the talk. These considerations are important because your session could be one of 10 which a conference participant might attend in 1 day. So they need to be kept motivated and involved during your particular talk. The second most popular format is the workshop. Now, a workshop is 45 minutes, but in order for a workshop to be included in the programme, and there are fewer slots for workshops than for talks, it must be clear from the abstract and the summary that the workshop will do the following. This is what a workshop is. It's not an extended talk. It's an opportunity for participants to be actively involved in doing tasks and discussing the outcome of them within groups and within the presenter, with the presenter. If it's not clearly stated how the workshop will be structured, or if the workshop appears to be a disguised talk, which is evident from the summary, it won't be accepted, or the speaker will be offered a different format, usually a talk. Information on the other formats is available on pages 4 to 5 of your speaker proposal information. And One in particular I would like to bring to your attention is the International Language Fair, now in its 5th year. There's a review by Nikki Joseph in the May issue of Voices, which gives you a really clear account of what it's like to be a presenter, to attend it, etc. But I would say that from the experience that I've been through, the buzz in the room, where you've got 18 presenters talking about their particular area of interest, is absolutely unique. And it allows for a really important opportunity for presenters to discuss their ideas and materials with a smaller group. So, you've chosen the format that you want to use, and now you need to produce the title, the abstract, and the summary. And this is where you have the potential not to be selected first time round for the conference programme. Here, I'm not quite sure what that was, you can see a list of 10 reasons why proposals may not be accepted, and they are listed under technical criteria. I think there's a phone. There we go. Okay, so what we've got here, we've got length of title. Now, the length of the title has to be a maximum of 10 words. Any more than 10 words, and it will automatically be put on the hold list. The title, the length of the abstract, has to be between 50 and 60. If it is 49, it will not go through to the next stage, and if it's 61, same applies. The same applies for the length of summary, which has to be between 200 and 250 words. Let me give you an example of an incomplete summary. What's happened here is that the summary ends with, surely they are not, who knows what they are not. And the problem is that I would imagine that the presenter has been busy typing in their summary, not checked it back and thought, well, as long as I can type, it must still be there. But the programme cuts off after 250 words. And although we have fewer of these than we used to, it still is quite common. And it's a shame that things cannot be considered if they don't fulfil these basic criteria. The other technical criteria is that if you're, the next one on the list, is if you're going to focus on a commercial product or some kind of published material, you must state that in the abstract. We've had lots of feedback in the past from participants who've been and have realised halfway through the talk or earlier that actually they are sitting through a commercial presentation. And so if you've ticked the FP code or the product promotion code, then you must state what it is that you are focusing on in the abstract. The repetition of information, if there's any information, exactly the same information from the abstract in the summary, that affects the word count. You are obviously not allowed to repeat a session that you've done at a previous annual IATEFL conference, and a database is kept. You must state the session type, talk for example, and the length of session. So if you choose talk and then you tick 45 minutes, that's clearly not going to fulfill the technical criteria because a talk can only be 30 minutes. You need to choose your audience focus, so whether you're looking at experienced or inexperienced, for example, and your content categories, of which you can choose a maximum of 2, possibly business English and EAP, or just 1, or if it's general, then tick the general category. So those are the 10, and the majority of proposals usually meet those 10 criteria. And the reasons that people don't often get through the first round is that they don't meet the content criteria, which are listed on pages, I think, 3 and 4 of the preliminary brochure. So now I would like to go through these criteria in detail and illustrate my points with examples. Now these are real examples, but I've obviously changed details of country reference for the to maintain the anonymity of the presenter. Right, now the first one that I'd like to focus on is clarity. This is one of the key criteria which is often not met. It is really very, very important that it's clear from your title and your abstract and your summary exactly what you're going to talk about. Let's have a look at an example. Nope. There we go. The problem here is that the title isn't clear because of the abbreviation. A conference participant may be in a hurry or not have time to look the abbreviation up in the list of abbreviations at the front of the programme. And so they may look at the title and not understand what WPA is and move on to the next one, the next abstract. Alternatively, they may read the abstract, but in the case of this one, it wouldn't help because the abbreviation isn't expanded on in the text, as can be seen here. No mention of WPA. This abstract is also a typical example. I really would like to get my green arrow. I can't get my green arrow. No. It's a typical example of where it's not clearly stated what the presenter is going to talk about. Whilst it sets the scene, that writing is a craft, and it does this very well, there isn't space to do this in 60 words. It's also really important to remember that as conference participants do not see the summary, the abstract is all they have to go on in order to choose whether to go to that session or not. In this case, actually, the summary didn't shed enough light on the topic, and the presenter was asked to resubmit both abstract and summary. Here, in contrast, is an example also on writing skills of an abstract which sets out the content very clearly, I think. Different colours, oh, there's my arrow. The different colours, oh, that's not a good idea, are mine. Okay, so first of all, the focus is very clear, critical thinking skills. The context in green is very clear, academic writing in universities. What the speakers, highlighted in red, are going to talk about is clearly stated, and the outcome for the participants there, will see how it can apply to their own context, is also clear. Okay, if I could just move on then to the next criterion, is to do with the amount to be covered. Here is an example of an abstract where the content is also clear, but it's too broad, there's too much of the time available. Okay, again, the highlighting is mine. So we have here that the speaker is going to talk about some theories about language teaching and learner autonomy. Then they're going to look at the role of the teachers and skills needed, etc. And then they're going to look at school procedures and attitudes. So whilst they're all really interesting topics, only perhaps one of those, or even within a subcategory, would be could be covered in enough depth and detail in 30 minutes. So this shows that it's really important that presenters choose a narrow enough focus which allows for both depth and discussion when submitting their proposal. It's a bit like planning a lesson with an appropriate aim for the time available. Okay, another important criterion is that it must be clear from your abstract and your summary that you have something new to say, or that you plan to shed some new light on a topic. This is often, mostly in terms of your own experience, and that you have also taken into account the level of your audience when choosing a topic. Here is an example of an abstract which was considered to be too low level for a sort of typical IATEFL audience. Whilst it's very positive that the abstract is clear, usefulness of using songs in the classroom, it's the kind of session which would be delivered on an initial teacher training course, and so probably would not attract a large enough audience for an IATEFL conference. It might well be suitable for something that could be summarised on a poster. Posters are often a very, very good way of summarising sort of ideas like this. Another reason that proposals are not successful is because it's not clear in the abstract and the summary that the presenter is going to base the session on a completed phase of research. This reason is less usual, but there are instances when it's clear that the research is ongoing or unfinished. In this scenario, the presenter is advised to submit a proposal once the research has been completed. Okay, another reason that a proposal might not be accepted is that it's too anecdotal. Have a look at this example. This session could also be presented as a poster or possibly written up for one of the special interest group newsletters like the TDSIG, but it doesn't meet the criterion as stated in the speaker proposal information of being theoretical, practical, or a combination of both. It's also an example of an abstract where it's not clear how the audience will be able to apply what the presenter says to their own context, and this has to be explicitly stated. Let me give you a similar example. The X's here are mine. Okay, the issue with abstracts such as these, or ones which outline specific courses, is that it's not clear how the session will be relevant to the audience. It's also not clear what the speaker intends to do in the session. However, in the case of this one, this actually was clearly stated at the end of the summary when the presenter writes, "This talk is an opportunity for you to X, Y, and Z." But as I've already said, the conference participants don't see the summaries as there's no space to include these in the programme. And so they have to be able to judge whether to attend the session based on the information given in the abstract. What the presenter wrote in the summary here, as you can see, should therefore actually have been in the abstract. This presenter's summary also contains some repetition from the abstract, which you saw previously is not allowed, and also it was felt to appear to be a bit more of a draft than a finished product. For example, when the presenter writes, "The X's are the presenters," and then there's another abbreviation or acronym. It's just not detailed enough, not thought out enough, perhaps, for what is required. So I hope that I've been clear that it's very, very important that in your summary you clearly outline how you're going to structure and organise your session. If it's not clear, then you may well be asked to resubmit your summary, even if the abstract is clear. Now here is an example of a clear summary. Okay, so what you've got here is 250 words, and you've got, it's about feedback, giving feedback to tasks and activities in the classroom. So here you've got the context set. Then you've got a reason, possible reasons for the context. And then it outlines what the audience will go away with from the workshop, and also what they will do in it. So there's a very clear balance between some theory and the actual practical information that is required. Okay. The final key criterion is that of coherence, in that your session title, your abstract and summary must clearly reflect each other. Here is an example of where this doesn't happen. Okay, we have a title here. Ready, steady, go, an exam that prepares for life. So presumably the session is going to be on an exam. So here's the abstract. The little dots are mine because it was quite long. Well, it was clear 60 words. So the abstract was focusing on critical reading skills and critical writing and thinking skills for writing. No mention of the exam at all. It was only in the summary that the content returned to the exam in question and how teachers could prepare their learners to pass it. But this thread needs to go all the way through from the title to the abstract and then to the summary. So to conclude this part of the presentation, okay, there are some key points to remember when deciding to submit a proposal. And these are as follows, and you'll see that these are not just my ideas. Okay, so please read the speaker proposal information carefully before you start so that you know what it is you have to do in order to fill the form in correctly, and you do that online. Linked to that, think carefully about the session, whether it's a talk, whether it's a workshop, your length of time, the focus, etc. Spend time writing it. It takes quite a long time actually to put it all together, to write the title, the abstract and the summary. Show it to a colleague, because then they can see if it's clear what you're going to talk about. It also checks things like typos. The summary is key in that it must outline, you must outline what you're going to focus on and how you're going to structure the session. Oops. Oh, that's the wrong one. And you must make sure that you fulfill all the technical criteria, okay, so the word counts in particular. And that your session, there's something of your own experience that makes it new, and that it's of practical use, because as we know, there are always at least 79 different nationalities all over the world, and everybody comes from a different context. So workshop sessions, lots of activity around tasks, talks, enough time for participation, audience participation and questions. And here comes the nitty-gritty. This was actually provided by the IATEFL office and indeed by Caroline, and they're quite right. You have to be a member to put in a proposal, and your membership has to be active. So if you suddenly realise, as I was told a couple of weeks ago, oh, your membership has lapsed, you must actually renew it and allow a couple of working days for this to happen. In order to see if your membership is active, the best thing for you to do is to log on to the IATEFL website. I've written now, perhaps not precisely at this moment, but certainly within the next 24 hours, because there's nothing more frustrating that you come to submit your proposal online and then you discover that your membership is not valid. And make sure that it's there well before the deadline of Thursday, the 19th of September. The IATEFL office emailed me today. They already have 140 submissions, proposals, which is high for 2 weeks before the deadline. So it's a sign that things are going to be, it's going to be a very popular conference. And if you want to find out more information, then you'll have that link there for the onto the web page, and you can find out all the information that you need. So that's the end of my part. I'm going to go back because I haven't been able to see you. Oh, there I am. Okay. Now what do we do?
Ask the questions.
Okay, where's the question? Okay, here goes another computer. This is really, really exciting here. This is a bit that I've never done before. So,
can you read the name of the questioner and the question?
So I read out the question. I also need my glasses because the print's very small.
Or I can put it up on there if you want.
Okay, I don't really mind. Okay, well, it's up here. So if I intend
it's fine, it's good.
to refer to examples from my book, though not actually focus on it throughout, can I still do a workshop as opposed to a talk? And this is from Johansen. Yes, that's fine. You can have published workshops that are for commercial products, but the abstract must be very clearly stated that that's what you're going to do. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Number 2 is from Maria Jesus. What about EFL? Is that okay? Lots of different people have lots of different views on that. If you put EFL in, it's certainly not going to preclude you being included in the conference. Mohammed, and I really can't do Elisa, can you suggest a type of presentation for a first-time presenter? That's a very good question, actually. I think the ones that work well are the ones where you've got something practical that you have done and that you would like to share with the audience. I think the format that works really, really well for first-time presenters is the interactive language fair, where you have 2 minutes. There are 18 presenters in a very large room for quite a long time. How long is that going on? About an hour and a half, isn't it? 2 hours. And they have 2 minutes each at the beginning, just to stand up in the whole group and just to say what they're going to talk about. And then they go to the desks, and there's board behind and all the materials to display and talk about, and then people go around and talk to them individually. So that's quite a nice way of starting in a very large conference. But I do think that for a first-time speaker, it's really, really good to go with something practical, something narrow, that you can then and get the audience to talk about some questions and apply it to their own context. IATEFL also has a really, really good mentor scheme where you can ask to have a mentor who will help you sort of online help prepare your session and be at the conference, etc. So that's something else that's really useful.
They're actually on that screen.
They're on that screen, aren't they? They're everywhere, these questions. Okay, there's a question from Simon Berry. Are there any restrictions on the number of presenters for each presentation? I don't think so. I can put my hand on my heart, I don't think so. I've been to sessions, the largest I've done, there were 4 of us. A bit big actually, so probably 2 to 3 is the biggest. Otherwise you're going to move into something like a panel presentation where again I think it's 4 or 5. So the problem with having too many people is that you have to be really, really well organised and know who's going to speak when and do what. So I think that answers that one. Okay, let me have a look for the next one. I mean, there's an abbreviation. Would this be allowed? Oh yes, sorry, EFL, yes. That's fine. Any abbreviation is allowed as long as it is spelled out in the abstract. So I think with EFL, everyone would know what that was. But if it was something less known, I'm thinking, what about one of these?
The one you gave was WPA.
WPA, which actually is writing process approach, which wasn't completely clear. But sometimes there are IT ones, which I don't know what they are, and they need to be spelled out for me in the abstract. Okay. Font is too small. I quite agree. I can't see it either, but I'm not controlling the font size. And we can't either, so. But I am reading them out. So the next one is, what is your advice for a novice presenter? I think I probably just
read the name.
Answer. I can't see it. It's too small for me to see.
That was
Tivoldras. I think I need to get my glasses. Maybe I could just get my glasses. That would make life so much easier.
I'll read to you the next one.
Yes.
The next one's from Angie in Australia. I'm going to propose presenting on action research, teacher research. I think a symposium would be great for this. Should I choose this format even, sorry, your question ran out.
Even what? I'm not sure. I think symposium are good, but they are put together by a group of people. So if it's something to do with action research and you want to find 3 or 4 or 5 different people, they all put their presentations in as a symposium. You also do that for a forum, which is for 3 people, or you can indicate that you want to do a session on action research. You tick the forum button, and then I would then say, okay, action research, I've got more of those, and I would put 2 or 3 talks together in the forum. So either you can do it with more people, or you can hand it over to me and I'll do it for you. Dennis Newson from Germany. Can one person submit more than one proposal? The answer to that is no. Only one proposal per person. Otherwise, there's so much demand now for the places. That's the very strict policy on that one. Did I think that's Angie from Angie from Australia?
Again, yeah.
I think I've done that one. In terms of presenting together at a symposium, even though there may not be others with the same interest. Is that a question?
Oh, that was the end of the question.
Oh, right. Yeah. I really like this. It's great fun. Should I choose this format, even though there may not be others with the same interest? I think I've answered that. I mean, a symposium is better if you really put that together. I can put them together, but I tend to put forums together. So if we have, 2 or 3 people who are doing action research based on something, to, let's say, professional development, then the logical thing would be to put them into a forum, and then either I or one of them would choose the convener, the lead person, and they can work together. Okay. Are there any other questions?
There are none, unless I'm just reading the chat, the left-hand chat, but no. Oh, hang on, another last minute from Caetano Capital.
Can they hear you?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about this topic of presentation? Okay. Challenging. Oh, you're teaching that class.
Oh, yeah.
We have that quite a lot. It's a really good topic. I think in last year we actually put that together as a forum because there were people talking about large classes from, I can't remember now, different countries in Africa, Asia, all around the world. So yeah, it's a really good topic. As long as there's something practical on it, we don't need to be told what all the problems are because we know the problems. Well, I don't know quite as well as you do, although I have taught 200 students in China once, which was quite demanding. We do know the problems, but we're looking at, how do we deal with them as well, and what can people take away from it. So it should always have a practical outcome. Talks can sometimes outline the problem. The 30 minutes is gone, and then you've lost that opportunity to develop people's professional competence.
We did miss Bethany's question, which Mercedes has kindly reposted for us. I'm concerned I have an idea for a talk that isn't exclusively ELT related. Would that be an issue?
The answer is probably yes. Very occasionally, probably each conference would get something, perhaps you've had them often with literature related, and they're just about something that would be about, I don't know, the work of George Orwell, and that's not really what this is about. Sometimes we get sessions that would be more appropriate for the BAL, British Association of Applied Linguistics, that kind of conference. So it does have to have an ELT related purpose, which people can then apply to their own context. But there are things about not CPD, what do you call that with them? Oh, sorry, I've gone completely out of my mind, when it was talking about counselling services and things like that, which would obviously be, could have a role, and then that would be perfectly acceptable.
I think we've got time for one more question, which needs to be the last. No, all right, two more, that's it. Stop. Barbara, would IATEFL suggest another format if the one you applied for, if the one seems less appropriate?
Yes. So if, for example, you've chosen a workshop and it's clearly not a workshop, then we would say, okay, well, you can have a talk. If the talk looks as though perhaps it should be more appropriate for, I don't know, to go into a panel discussion, yes, that's something that I would do.
Second to last from Angie in Australia, could we select more than one format? If symposium failed, then may it be accepted as a poster? You are only allowed to choose one format.
If for some reason a symposium didn't run, then you would be, and it had been accepted in terms of the abstract, the title and the summary, then you would be offered another format, depending on what there was.
And finally from Maria Jesus, what if the talk is related to some initial results of research? It might be more sharing info than practical.
I think related to the point I made earlier is that sometimes in the past we've had initial research presented one year, then more ongoing research presented the next year, and actually they needed to wait till the third year until it was ready. If you've got some initial research, present it in a poster. There's no restriction on the number of posters. We have lots of space. There's time for people to present in front of them. And that's where you can do the initial work that's going on.
I had, okay, one more from...
I'm having problems with the connection. Could you tell me what's that about having a mentor? You can, in the conference information, if I can just find it, I'm not quite sure if I can in this light, but that you were able to ask for a mentor. My colleague at UCL, oh my goodness, I am bright. My colleague from UCL acted as a mentor for somebody who was a first-time presenter. And here is point 11, and it's page 26 of mine, so about page 6 of yours, and it offers an opportunity for first time to benefit from the advice. It's all written down there. And this person, you can turn that off, right? This person was really appreciated the help that Rachel gave him.
I think that is...
Is that it now? Okay, so now what do we do?
I think we... shall I take the stage a minute?
Yes, please. Oh, bye-bye.
For technical reasons, I will speak as Madeleine. I'm Caroline Moore. I'd like to thank you all for attending and for Madeleine's excellent presentation. If you were only able to join us halfway through, we will be uploading the link onto the IATEFL website and onto the Facebook, and a link on the Facebook group as soon as we can. And good luck with your proposals, and thank you so much to Madeleine for such a useful talk.
Okay, bye-bye.
Despite the fact that she really didn't feel comfortable with this technology, I don't think you'd ever know.
I went only with you, Caroline, and Mercedes would I have done it. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you for the wonderful Mercedes
Oh,
from Uruguay,
great.
who is the brains behind all of this.
Absolutely.
And we couldn't do it without you, Mercedes. And thank you, audience. It's been great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.